Igor, exciting day. We're going to tell the world about River AI and make the big announcement. I think before we talk about the company, let's talk about you. You've had a tremendous career, DeepMind, OpenAI, XAI, and now doing River. And you've sort of been part of the evolution of AI and how we should be using it in humanity. But talk about just your background and sort of like how did you even get here?
Yeah, so I actually started out in physics. I was really interested in understanding the universe, and contributing to humanity in some way. Basically using my skills, using, everything I'm able to do to help everyone. But then that kind of changed when AlphaGo came out. So back in 2015, 2016, DeepMind was showing some really amazing results, and I kind of realized that the most exciting work is going to happen in AI over the next few years. So kind of try to find a way into AI to switch fields, and ended up joining DeepMind, working there on generative models, text-to-speech with WaveNet. Got really interested in reinforcement learning.
You've come a long way since then, the last 10 years. Amazing.
Yeah, exactly. I've been doing reinforcement learning for 10 years now. And I really love the environment at DeepMind. I think it was a very unique kind of research culture that Dem has created. And it was a wonderful time to learn the ropes in deep learning and AI. And ended up joining OpenAI because I got really interested in sort of their scaling philosophy. So it really felt like they were onto something great with GPT-2, GPT-3. And I ended up joining and helping them out on some large training runs. Also, I was really interested in reasoning. So it felt at the time that large language models weren't yet really good at solving hard reasoning problems. And that's really changed over the last few years. And one thing that's always motivated me is I want to make sure that we have a lot of diversity in AI. There can't just be one large company that controls everything, that decides what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do.
That's a very hot topic these days. Obviously,
Yeah.
A lot of the CEOs are talking about this. I want to bring you back to sort of when you and I met. We talked about the motivations you had to start XAI. Maybe start there. So, like, what got you excited about starting the business?
Yeah, exactly. So I just felt like it would be amazing if there was another strong competitor out there, another AI company with a different philosophy, a different idea for how to contribute to humanity, what kinds of models to build. And when I ended up meeting with Elon, we kind of saw eye to eye. We kind of saw the opportunity to do something new. And the thing that really interested me is this mission of understanding the universe. Can we build powerful reasoning models that help us understand and solve problems in physics, science, medicine, engineering? So Elon was interested in basically, can the models help me build a better rocket engine? So I think that was kind of unique and very, very worthy goal for the company. At the time, reasoning models weren't out yet, so we kind of did it on the hunch that LLMs will become much, much better at reasoning, and which actually turned out to be the case. But when we started out, it was really just kind of this vision that we want to make this work. We want to figure out how to do reasoning, and we pursued that for a few years, and actually managed to do some really great work with Grok 3, Grok 4. Those were some really powerful models that were able to do coding. They were able to do advanced reasoning. So really amazing work from everybody on the team. And what basically happened to me then is I realized, wow, this is going to change the world. These models are going to get more and more powerful. And what's going to happen to the rest of humanity? The big AI companies, they own this technology, they control it. What happens to the hundreds of thousands, millions of companies out there? What happens to every person in the world if they're not able to have full control of their AI experience?
And this is actually a place where I feel like there's a deep alignment with us at General Catalyst as well, because our whole focus is on creating unfair advantages for founders so they can actually build companies at a scale that matters in the world where you have these really, really large tech companies. Now, the XAI story, obviously, that became part of SpaceX, and now it's now $1 trillion juggernaut. But you saw the next phase of what AI needs to do in terms of putting power in the hands of the consumers and the users. Like, talk about sort of what's pulling you to start River AI and building the way you're building now.
Yeah, exactly. So I believe that the reason AI is done the way it's done today is because we made a lot of assumptions. We built the technology in a certain way. So the idea of having these LLM APIs, that's the primary way that you get your intelligence. You have to pay per token. No, that's just one way of building AI. And we believe that if we build it in a different way, if we build it in a way that's more open, that allows people to shape and control the AI systems that they build themselves, whether it's a company that wants to basically own their own intelligence, or it's an individual that wants to be able to tune their AI to be just right for them. We think that that's going to be the way that AI is used by the majority of the world in the future. So it should be open, it should be freely available, it should be cheap, and you should feel like it's working for you and not for somebody else. And the key to getting there is to build the right tools and the right technology. That's our philosophy. And so that's basically what we're doing. We're a research lab that's trying to figure out what are those tools of the future, what are those algorithms that allow people to take control of their AI experience.
So there's a lot of discussion today around open weights. Jensen put out a letter, open letter, his first tweet, and also, Satya and other leaders are also strongly endorsing this, obviously. Now, you started River with a premise around open weights, so you've actually been very early to this. So talk about sort of what you saw, the importance of open weights, why you're leaning so heavily into it. Because I actually think River AI is going to be looked at as sort of the foundational company that's pulling this next phase of AI development into that world. So just talk about sort of what gave you that conviction to go down that path.
Yeah, really two reasons why we believe strongly in open models. So the first one is just pure prediction. So in the AI field, we're getting better and better at predicting where things are heading. And we just saw that open models were getting stronger and stronger, closing the gap with the proprietary models more and more, especially driven by a lot of very strong teams in China that are putting out open models. And you can sort of extrapolate, draw a line on the graph. How strong are these models going to be? How strong do we expect them to be? And we already thought that they're going to get very, very close this year and might potentially even surpass the proprietary models one day. So I think that's an argument to be interested in them and to keep an eye on them. And the other one, I feel like it's just philosophically, it's the right thing, in my opinion, because these models are trained based on all of human knowledge. Everything that's been written on the internet, everything that's out there is sort of humanity's contribution. And I think the best way to distribute the benefits of that is to distribute the outcome, to give it away for free.
Yeah.
So when we do pre-training, basically those weights I think should become available to everyone.
Yeah. Now, when you think about open weights, because you also have to build a commercial business to really serve humanity in this way, what do the weights carry, and what do you think is sort of the responsibility on the commercial side for what River AI should be doing as a business as well?
Yeah, exactly. For this whole thing to be self-sustaining, we actually have to have a business model around the open weights, around the open models. So how is that going to work if we give away the model for free? What else is there that we can do as a business that that people are willing to pay for? And we kind of realized that the key has to be in those advanced tools that allow you to customize and shape the model, that allow you to kind of take control and tune it to your needs. And that can happen at the level of a business. So somebody might have internal data that's relevant for what they're doing at their company, and they want to have the perfect model for those use cases that's small, that's cheap to run, that's very, very reliable, that solves the task all the time. So we're building tools for that. But then more challenging, I think, is to bring this to the individual level. So how can you help somebody tune and control their AI in a way that today only a big AI lab can do? So we're imagining that as a user, you'll be able to tell your AI, hey, I would like you to do this differently. I'd like you to write the code differently. I'd like you to interact with me differently, maybe speak more casually in the next conversation, and the model absorbs those instructions and changes at the weight level and actually improves in that direction. So today that's not really possible, but we believe with the right research we can pull this off, and there would be a whole different stack for AI, a whole different world, basically. And we think bringing everybody along is the key to having a self-sustaining AI future. So that's what we're pushing for.
And there's a lot of discussion around sovereignty with OpenAI, because so much of the high performance open weight sort of model work is done by the Chinese companies. And so there's a lot of concern around, can we really build a US innovation ecosystem on that? What's your philosophy around that? And how are you trying to address some of those sovereignty issues and resilience issues?
Yeah, we absolutely should have amazing open models in the US that are much better than the ones that come out of China, in my opinion. For various reasons, there's There are some security concerns. What if somebody embeds behaviors in these model weights? But also just the fact that whoever releases these models ends up controlling some of the ecosystem, because companies start to rely on the weights for their businesses. And so that's a worry I have, that in the future, the Chinese labs might stop releasing their models, or they might restrict them.
Will fall behind.
Yeah, exactly. The US might fall behind as a result of that. So I think it's very important that we invest in.
Yeah. And how confident are you that we can do that? Obviously, you've started the business to be able to do that, but talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we've actually done it at XAI within the span of about 2 years, starting from scratch, building up a team, building up the data sets, the training infrastructure, tuning the architecture, the algorithms. So I'm very confident that here in the US, we're able to do that. It's just about the right incentives, building the right team at the right time. I hope there's going to be a river, so we're very excited.
I hope so too.
Yeah, we're very excited to start training models ourselves as well. But for now, the focus is on sort of the fine-tuning and customization with our River API. So that's something that we're investing heavily into. We're working with companies to help them take an open weight model and customize it to their needs, tune it, run very ambitious training runs that usually you would only be able to do at a big AI lab.
One thing I've been pleasantly surprised around is that the enterprises, because you're in discussions with a lot of them and working with a few of them now, they actually get it, that they need this capability. Talk a bit about just what's the market sentiment around this?
Yeah, I think what we've seen over the last few years is that as these AI models become more and more advanced, more and more capable, they start to subsume all kinds of industries, all kinds of existing tech companies, businesses that are out there. And I think people are becoming more and more aware of this, that if they're basically just allowing the big AI labs to train on their data, improve their models, then they're sort of giving up control. They're giving away a lot of what makes their company work, a lot of what makes their business work. So they really should be taking back control and training their own models, and basically have an internal self-improvement loop for their own intelligence.
And when you fast forward a couple of years and you see the enterprises becoming more sophisticated in using this, and obviously consumers through the consumer companies as well, how do you see them using these frontier lab sort of AI models that are closed and open weight? Do you see sort of both being used, and what's the world going to look like?
Yeah, I think we might actually have a bit of a bifurcation of models in the future. It's a little bit crazy to think about this now, because right now there's sort of one frontier of AI that everybody uses. So let's say the most capable models that we get from OpenAI, Anthropic, and others. But I could imagine that in the future we'll have very, very capable, super intelligent AIs that are sort of closed off. So you'd have to be a large corporation, or you'd have to be the government to really be able to access them. And then we'll have the AI for everybody else, so for the individual and for anyone out there who wants to leverage AI. And I could see that the proprietary AI labs become experts of the first category, but I think open models will really dominate the second category, just because it's the weights are available, they're free for people to use, then there's not really an incentive to pay somebody.
Mm-hmm. So Igor, I want to talk about continual learning. First of all, describe for everybody what that means and sort of where's that field going?
Yeah, so continual learning has been a direction in deep learning for quite some time. So definitely for the last 10 years that I've been doing AI. And the idea is basically we want AI models to kind of learn like a human continuously over time. Don't forget old knowledge, continue to be able to do all the skills that you've learned in the past while training on new kinds of data. It's a pretty wide term, could mean a lot of different things. For us, where continual learning comes in is that today there isn't an amazing way for an individual to shape their AI model. So today we're really relying on the big AI labs to post-train and to tune the models so that they're actually useful for people in practice. But we have this vision that an individual should be able to have control over how their model behaves. And so how do you actually do that in practice? Like what is the algorithm, what is the technique that will change the model once the user says, I want the model to behave differently? And we think that's where continual learning techniques are going to be really important. Essentially, based on what the user is telling you, going to be updating the model at the weight level. So for example, I would tell my model, please be more casual, like we're friends here, you don't have to be so formal. And then we would actually kick off a learning process that updates the weights of the model. And that's where continual learning techniques are very important. And I'd say today we should be a bit more concrete around what does continual learning actually mean? What are the specific techniques that we're going to explore? And there are a few really interesting directions. Online RL is one of them. So how do you continue to train models using reinforcement learning continuously, kind of like a recommendation system, or a model that's continuously updated from user interactions. Another one is on policy self-distillation. So we're now figuring out how you can take a natural language prompt and actually update the model weights to reflect that new behavior using a distillation approach. And yes, and many more techniques that I would put under the general umbrella of continual learning. And we're basically exploring these different avenues and seeing where is there a great fit for allowing the individual to take control of their AI.
So as this ecosystem develops of the open weight architecture with continual learning, what does that landscape look like in 4 to 5 years?
My suspicion, and I do have to say that there's a lot of uncertainty. You're predicting that far
of course.
ahead.
we live in a world of ambiguity. It's totally okay.
Yeah, but my suspicion is that the usage of open models will increase even further. And that the vast majority of usage out there from companies and from individuals will be based on open models, actually. So which is a reversal from how things started out. So initially the let's call them closed AI labs, they were the trailblazers. They innovated. They came up with all these amazing models.
They're hyper-growing,
and they're still continuing to grow. But just the economics and the convenience and the various advantages of open models, I think, will prevail in the long term.
As you've been building the last several months, the River AI API and protocol, describe what it does and like how should developers be engaging with it?
Yes. So we've all been using AI or LLM inference over the past few years. So it basically means that there's a checkpoint for one of these AI models, and you interact with it. You can ask it a question, you can prompt it, and then a stream of tokens comes back to you. And we've perfected these kinds of systems, optimized them, and this is the way that everybody interacts with LLMs today. We're thinking that what if we extend that with the ability to update the model weights as well? So it's not just about talking to a fixed frozen checkpoint, but you're actually able to instruct the model.
As part of just embedding continual learning in the models now is what you're really saying.
Exactly. And in order to give people a lot of flexibility, so around developers and AI researchers to be able to implement any kind of algorithm, we have an API that's very, very flexible that allows you to specify exactly how the weights should be updated. And it turns out that this interface, being able to sample, being able to update the weights, that allows you to express all kinds of different workflows, whether it's post-training, whether it's reinforcement learning. So you kind of want to compete with the best training runs from Anthropic and OpenAI. You can actually do that through the API. And we've also found that LoRa adapters are extremely helpful because they make the training and inference very efficient. So as you're updating the model weights, you're able to sample from them with very, very low overhead. And that basically makes the whole thing much cheaper and much more accessible than it was in the past.
So as you think about this API layer, first of all, what's the feedback you're getting from early users? I think we're supposed to just sort of double click on that.
So we have a few very, very happy users at the moment that we're learning a lot from, and they've told us that the API is particularly reliable, scalable, that they're seeing really good step times. So we've spent a lot of time optimizing every aspect of the API, from updating the weights to sampling to transferring the weights between training and inference engines. So we're pretty proud of the feedback so far. So we have been very happy.
And as you project sort of the next couple of years, you guys are such a high caliber team. It's sort of very few teams have the kind of experience that your team has that you've been able to put together. What's in store? Because you could go in so many directions to solve a lot of this sort of open weight, open source set of problems. Like, how are you thinking about it?
Yeah,
what are the priorities?
Today, we've realized it's much more realistic and much more. It's much easier to help larger companies take control of their AI experience. So that's why we've built the API, and we're working very heavily on it to allow more and more people to do these advanced AI training runs, to customize and shape their models. So there's a pretty clear path for companies to do that today. But unfortunately, it does require you to have a lot of data, requires you to be able to code. So it's not something that's going to be useful for every individual in the world. And for us, that's the ultimate goal. We want to figure out how every single person in the world can take control of their own AI experience. So that's why we're doing a lot of research into what are the sort of techniques that we can use to allow an individual to shape the model. Maybe the model should be automatically improving itself just based on interactions with you. So that's the ultimate goal. And that means ultimately we want to release tools for consumers as well. But that's in the future. Today, we're heavily focused on helping businesses take control of their AI and build sovereign AI.
So if you have a chief AI officer of a enterprise watching this video, and by the way, I think the companies that are doing the best in transforming with AI are the ones where the chief AI officer is actually the CEO, and they're really sort of pushing it top down. Absolutely. So if you have CEO of these enterprise companies watching this, what is the one message you want to give them around, hey, you really need to get on this open weight journey with the River AI APIs as you're sort of coming out of this mode of experimentation to really deploying AI in your business?
Yeah, the number one message I would say is it's much, much easier than you think. So we've actually found that with a coding agent and using the API, we're able to implement a very complex RL run within 15, 20 minutes, and you don't need to have a ton of expertise in reinforcement learning at all. So it was just surprising how quickly you can get these things stood up if you use the API. And so I think the barrier to entry is very, very low. You can try it out. You can create some impact internally at your company and then scale from there. And hopefully that's the first step on your journey to taking control of your own AI.
Hopefully some of the CEOs are hearing this and calling you after this. So
absolutely,
look,
yeah.
Very excited about what you're about to go do. Congrats on the launch, and we're excited to be partners.
Thank you, Hemant.
Yeah. Thank you.